Chapter 30 The Very Secret Diary. Hermione remained in the hospital wing for several weeks. There was a furry rumor about her disappearance. When the rest of the school arrived back from the Christmas holidays, because of course everyone thought that she had been attacked. So many students flied past the hospital wing being attacked. Some trying to catch her glimpse of her that Madame Perfect took out her curtains again and placed them around Hermione's bed, to spread her shame of being seen with her furry face. Harry and Ron went to visit her every evening. When the new term started, they brought her each day's homework. I did project with Turk. I did take a break from work, said Ron, tipping a stack of books onto Hermione's bedside table one evening. Don't be silly, Ron. I've got to keep up, said Hermione briskly. Her spirits were greatly improved by the fact that all the hair had gone out her face and her eyes were turning slowly back to brown. And I suppose you have got any new leads, she added in a whisper, so that Madame Pomfrey couldn't hear her. Nothing, said Harry gloomily. I was so sure it was Malfoy, said Ron, for about the 100th time. What is that? Asked Harry, pointing to something gold sticking out from under Hermione's pillow. Just a get-well card, said Hermione hastily, trying to poke it out of sight. But Ron was too quite quick for her. He pulled it out, flicking it open and read aloud. To Mr. Granger, wishing you a speedy recovery from your concerted teacher, Professor Gilderoy Lockhart, author of Merlin, third-class honorary member of Dark Force Defensive Lash and 5 times winner of which Weasley Most Charming Smile Award. Ron looked up at Hermione, disgusting. You sleep with this under your pillow? But Hermione was spotted answering by Madame Pomfrey sweeping over her evening thoughts of medicine. Is Lockhart the smartest bluff you have ever met, or what? Ron said to Harry as they left the dormitory and started up the stairs walk. Snape had given them so much homework. Harry thought he was likely to be in the 6th year before he finished it. Ron was sure. Just saying he wished he asked Hermione how many reptiles you were supposed to add on her hair-raising potion, when an angry outburst from the floor above it reached their ears. That fleet, Harry muted, as they hurried up the stairs and paused outside, listening hard. You'll be surprised, said Ron, who was looking apprehensively at the book. Some of the books of the ministry confiscated that told him that was one of the burning your eyes out. Another one who reads sonnets over sacred broke in memory for the rest of their lives, and some old rich and bats had a book that you could never stop reading. You just had to wander around with your nose in it, trying to do everything one had. And, all right, I've got the point, said Harry. The little book lay on the floor, not that skipped and soggy. Well, we won't find out unless we look at it, he said, and he jacked around Ron and picked it off the floor. Harry saw at once what it was, a diary, and the faded year on the cover told him this 50. Harry saw it 50 years old. He opened it eagerly. On the first page he could just make on the name T.M. Riddle in smart link. Hang on, said Ron, who had approached it cautiously and was looking over Harry's shoulder. I know that name. T.M. Riddle. What an award of special service to the school 50 years ago. How on earth did you know that? Said Harry in amazement. Because Fletch made me polish his suit about 50 minutes into intentions, said Ron resentfully. That was the one I burned slugs all over. You did weapon slam of the name for an hour. You did remember that too. Harry split the wet pages apart. They were completely blank. There wasn't fancy traits or writing on any of them, not even Aunt Marvel's birthday or Dante's half-past 3. He never wrote in it, said Harry, disappointed. I wonder why someone wanted to flush it away, said Ron curtly. Harry turned to the back. covered up the book and saw the printed name of the new Gansons in Vauxhall Road, London. "He must have been Marvel-born," said Harry thoughtfully, "to have bought a diary from Vauxhall Road." "Well, if it's not much use to you," said Ron. He dropped his voice. "Read the boys if you get it such meteor's nose." Harry, however, pocketed it. Hermione left the hospital wing, dejected. Hotel lets and fur free at the beginning of February. On the first evening back in the Gryffindor Tower, Harry showed her T.M. Riddle's diary and told her the story of how they had found it. "Oh, it might have hidden powers," said Hermione enthusiastically, taking the diary and looking at it closely. "If it has, it is hiding them very well," said Ron. "Maybe it's shy. I don't even know why you don't check it, Harry." "I wish I knew why someone did try to check it," said Harry. "I wouldn't mind knowing how Riddle got an award from special service to Hogwarts, either." "Could have been everything," said Ron. "Maybe he got 30 OWLs, or saved a teacher from the giant squid. Maybe he mirrored Miro. That would have done everyone a favor." But Harry could tell from the attractive look on Hermione's face that she was thinking of what he was thinking. "What?" said Ron, looking from one to the other. "Well, the Chamber of Secrets was opened 15 years ago, wasn't it?" he said. "That's what Malfoy said." "Yeah," said Ron slowly. "And this diary is 15 years old," said Hermione. "Timing exactly. So?" "Oh, Ron, wake up!" snapped Hermione. "We know the person who opened the chamber last time was expelled 50 years ago. We know T.M. Riddle got an award for special service to the school 15 years ago. Well, what if Riddle got his special award for catching the hair of Cinderella? His diary would probably tell us everything, where the chamber is, and how to open it, and what sort of creature lives in it. This person who was behind the attacks this time wouldn't want that lying around, would they?" "That is a brilliant theory," Hermione said. "Ron, with just one teeny little flaw, there's nothing wrong in his diary." But Hermione is pulling her wand out of her bag. "It might be invisible ink." She was eager. She typed the diary 3 times and said, "After Christmas, nothing happened." And that, Hermione shoved her bag into a bag and pulled what appeared to be a bright red eraser. "It is a revealer. I got it in a Diagon Alley," she said. She rubbed hair on January the 1st. Nothing happened. "I'm telling you, there is nothing to find there," said Ron. "Riddle just got a diary from Christmas and couldn't be bothered fleeing in it." Harry couldn't explain, even to himself, why didn't he just throw Riddle's diary away. The fact that was even touched, he knew the diary was blank. He kept immediately picking it up and turning the pages. At first, it was a story he wanted to finish, and while Harry was sure he had never heard the name T.M. Riddle before, that still seemed to mean something to him, almost as such Riddle was a friend he had when he was very small, and had forgotten that this was a purse. He did never have friends before Hogwarts. Julie had made sure of that. Neville tell us. Harry was determined to find out more about Riddle, so next day at break, he headed off for the trophy room to examine Riddle's special award, accompanied by an interested Hermione and thoughtfully inconvenienced Ron, who told him he had seen enough of the trophy room to last him in a lifetime. Riddle's burnished good shirt was tucked away in a corner cabin. It didn't carry details of why he had been given to him, good thing, to, or it'd be even bigger and it'd still be polished, said Ron. However, they did find Riddle's name on an old medal of magical merit, and one of the rich old-headed boys. "It sounds like Percy," said Ron, wrinkling his nose in disgust. "Perfect, head boy, probably top of every class." "You say that like it's a bad thing," said Hermione, in a slightly hurt voice. The sun had now begun to shine quickly on the Hogwarts again. Inside the castle, the moth had growled more hopefully. There had been no more attacks since thought of Justine and nearly had a sneak. Madame Crofet was pleased to report that the Madrags were becoming motley and secretive, meaning that they were fast leaving childhood. The moment their aunt clears up, they will be ready for reporting again. Harry had heard her telling Fletch Kylie one afternoon, and after that, it won't be long until we are cutting them up and speeding up. You will have Mr. Norris back in no time. Parrot, the hair of Cinderine, had lost his hair of her neck, touched Harry, and must be getting riskier and riskier to open the chamber secrets. But the scones so alerted and suspicious. Perhaps the monster, whatever it was even now settling itself down to hibernate for another 50 years. Arnie Macmillan of Hufflepuff didn't take this careful view. He was still convinced that Harry was the guilty one, that he did have given himself away at the dueling club. Pips wasn't helping matters. He kept popping it up in the crowded corridor singing, "Oh, Potter, you rudder!" Now with a dance Roger to match. Little Bill Lockhart seemed to think himself had made the attack stop. Harry overheard him telling professionally the Gungans so why the Gryffindors were lining up for justifications. "I don't think there will be any more trouble, Minerva," he said, tapping his nose, knowing and winking. "I think the chamber has been locked her for good up this time. The culprit must have known it was only a matter of time before I caught them. Rather sensible to stop now, before I came down hard of them. You know, what the school needs to know now is a marble monster, washing away the most memories of last time. I won't say anything more just now, but I think I know just the same." He tapped his nose again and stood up. Lockhart's idea of a marble monster became clear at breakfast time on February the 14th. Harry hadn't had much sleep because of late running. Quidditch practice the night before, and he hurried down to the great hall, suddenly lit. He thought for a moment that he did awake touch the wrong doors. They were all covered with large pink flowers. Worse still, her sharpened confetti was falling from the pale blue ceiling. Harry went over to the Gryffindor table, where Ron was sitting looking second, and Hermione seemed to have come over rather quickly. "What is going on?" Harry asked them, sitting down and waving confetti off his back. Ron pointed to the teacher's table, apparently too disgusting to speak. Lockhart wore laureate pink robes to match the sight of him looking stanchly faced. From where he sat, Harry could see a musical going in Professor McGonagall's cheek. Snap looked as such someone had just fed him a large breaker of slaked gruel. "Right," he said, sitting on Harry's ankles. "Here is the sinking Valentine." His eyes are as green as a fresh baked toast. His hair is as dark as the blackboard. "I wish he was mine. He's really divine. The hero who converted the Dark Lord." Harry would have given all the blood in Greek thoughts to evaporate on the spot, trying violently to laugh along with everyone else. He got up, his feet numbed from the weight of the draft, as Percy Weasley did the best to disappear the crowd, some of whom were crying with mirth. Off you go, off you go. The bell rang 5 minutes ago. Off to class now," he said, shooing some of the younger students away. "And you, Malfoy." Harry, glancing over, saw Malfoy stood up and snatched at something. Leering, he showed it to Crabbe and Goyle, and Harry realized that he had got Riddle's diary. "Give that back!" said Harry quickly. "Wonder what Potter's writing in this," said Malfoy, who obviously had noticed the year on this cover, and thought he had Harry's owl diary. A hash held over the owl lockers. Jean was staring from the diary to Harry, looking terrified. "Hand it over, Malfoy," said Percy sternly. "When I had a look," said Malfoy, waving the diary tactfully at Harry. Percy said, "As a school perfect," but Harry had lost his temper. He pulled out his one shout, "Experiments!" And just as Snape had disappeared, Lockhart So Malfoy found the diary shooting out of his hand into the air. Ron, grinning brightly, catch it. Harry, said Percy loudly, no magic in the corridors. I'll have to report this, you know. But Harry didn't care. They gone hit one over to Malfoy, and that was worth 5 points from Gryffindor any day. Malfoy was looking fiercely, and as Ginny passed him to enter her classroom, yet especially after her. I think Potter liked your Valentine match. Ginny covered her face with her hands and ran into class. Startling, Ron pulled out his wand too, but Harry pulled him away. Ron didn't need to spend the whole of Charles bletching socks. It wasn't until when they had reached Professor Flitwick's classes that Harry noticed something rather odd about Ridley's diary. All his other books were drenched in a scary ink. The diary, however, was as clean as it had been before the ink bottle had smashed all over it. He tried to point this out to Ron, but Ron was having trouble with his wand again. Large purple bubbles were blossoming out of the end, and he wasn't much interested in anything else. Harry went to bed before anyone else in his dormitory that night. This was partly because he didn't think he would start Fred and George singing. He started as sprint as a fresh picket. Asked Mary. He glanced nervously at the door to the dormitory, which was growing dark. When he looked back at the diary, he saw Fresh's words frowning. Let me show you. Harry paused for a fraction of a second and wrote 2 letters. Okay. The page of the diary began to blow as such caught in the high sky. Stopping halfway through the month of June, mouth hanging open, Harry saw that little square of June the 13th seemed to have turned into a musical television screen. His hands trembling slightly, he raised the book to press his eyes against the little window, and before he knew that what was happening, he was stealing forward. The wind door was winding. He felt his body leap his back, and he was pitched headfirst through the opening in the pit into a whirl of coral and shadow. He felt his feet hit solid ground and stood, shaking, as the blurred shapes around him came suddenly into focus. He knew immediately where he was. The circular room with the sleeping portraits was Dumbledore's office, but it wasn't Dumbledore who was sitting behind the desk. A wizened, shrill, frail-looking wizard, black as painted for a few strips of white hair, was reading a letter by candlelight. Harry had never seen this man before. I'm sorry, he said shakily. I didn't mean to butt in. But the wizard did look up. He continued to read, frowning slightly. Harry drew nearer to his desk and stopped. Are just sure? Still the wizard knocked at him. He didn't seem even to have heard him. Thinking that the wizard might be dead, Harry raised his voice. Sorry, I disbutted you. I will go now, he had shouted. The wizard folded up the letter with a sack, stood up, walked past Harry without glancing at him and went to draw the curtains at his window. The sky outside was grubby red. It was seeming to be sunset. The wizard went back to the desk, sat down to twiddle his thumbs. Watching the door, Harry looked around the office. No figures to phonics, no rearing silver contraptions. It was Hogwarts as Riddle had known it, meaning that its unknown wizard was headmaster, not Dumbledore, and he, Harry, was little more than a phantom, completely invisible to the people of 30 years ago. There was a knock on the office door. Enter, said the old wizard in a feeble voice. A boy of about 16 entered, taking off his pointed hat. A silver prefect's badge was glittering on his chest. He was much taller than Harry, but he, too, had jet black hair. Ah, Riddle, said the headmaster. You want to see me, Professor Dippet? Said Riddle. He looked nervous. Sit down, said Dippet. I've just been reading the letter you sent me. Oh, said Riddle. He sat down, gripping his hand together very tightly. My dear boy, said Dippet kindly, I cannot possibly let you stay at school over the summer. Surely you want to go home for the holidays? No, said Riddle at once. I'd much rather stay at Hogwarts than go back to that. You live in Muggle or Farms during the holidays, I believe, said Dippet curiously. Yes, sir, said Riddle, giggling slightly. You are Muggle born? Half-blood, sir, said Riddle. Muggle father, witch mother, and are both your parents. My mother died just after I was born, sir. They told me that the Africans and she lived just long enough to name me. Tom after my father, Marlowe after my grandfather. Deepak clapped his tongue steam patted. The thing is, Tom, he said, special arrangements might have been made for you, but in the current circumstances, you mean all these attacks, sir? Said Riddle, and Harry's heart leapt, and he moved closer, scared of missing anything. Precisely, said the headmaster. My dear boy, you must see how foolish it would be of me to allow you to remain at the castle when term ends. Particularly in the light of the recent tragedy, the death of the poor little girl, you will be safer by far at your Africans. As a matter of fact, the Ministry of Magic is even now talking about closing your school. We are no nearer longer taking the source of all this unpleasantness. Riddle's eye had been. Sir, if the person was caught, if it all stopped? What do you mean? Said Dippet, with a squeak in his voice, sitting up in his chair. Riddle, do you mean you know something about these attacks? No, sir, said Riddle quickly. But Harry was sure it was the same sort of no that he himself had given Dumbledore. Dippet sat back, looking frankly disappointed. You may go, Tom. Riddle set off his chair and stepped out to the room. Harry followed him. Down the moving spiral staircase they went, emerging next to the gallery in the darkening corridor. Riddle stopped, and so did Harry. Watching him, Harry could tell that Riddle was doing something serious thinking. He was beating his lip, his forehead furrowed. Then, as such, he sat suddenly reached a decision. He hurried up, Harry gliding noiselessly behind him. They didn't see another person until they reached their entrance hall, when the tall wizard with a long, sweeping unbraided hair and beard called to Riddle from the marble staircase. What are you doing? Wandering around the slate. Tom, Harry gaped at the wizard, who was none of another 15 years younger Dumbledore. I have to see the headmaster, sir, said Riddle. Well, hurry off to bed, said Dumbledore, giving Riddle exactly the kind of presidential stare Harry knew so well. Best not to room for the corridor this day, not since he sighed heavily. But Riddle good night and straight off. Riddle watched him out of the sight and then, moving quickly, headed stretched out down the stone steps to the Jackans, with Harry in hot pursuit. But to Harry's disappointed, Riddle led him not into a hidden passageway of a secret tunnel, but the very garden in which Harry had potions with Snape. The torches hadn't been lit, and when Riddle would push the door almost closed, Harry could only just see Riddle standing stock still by the door, watching the passage outside. It felt to Harry that they were there of at last an hour. All he could see was the finger of Riddle at the door. Had stopped rolling, expanded the entrance, and started wishing he could return to the present. He heard that something moved beyond the door. Something was creeping along his passage. He heard it, however, it was past the Jogan where he and Riddle were hidden. Riddle, quiet as a shadow, acted thrust the door and followed, Harry towering behind him, forgetting that he couldn't be here for perhaps 5 minutes. They followed the footstep until Riddle stopped suddenly, his hair inclined in the direction of new noise. Harry heard a door crack open, and someone speaking in a harsh whisper. Come on, gotta get out of here. Come on now, in the box. There was something familiar about that voice. Ryder suddenly jumped around the corner. Harry stepped out behind him. He could see the dark outline of a huge body who was crouching in front of an open door, a very large box next to it. Evening, Rebels, said Ryder sharply. The boy slammed the door shut and stood up. What you are doing down here, Tom? Ryder stepped closer. It's all over, he said. I'm going to have to turn you in. Rebels, they're talking about closing Hogwarts if the attacks don't stop. What do you... I don't think you mean to kill anyone, but monsters do make good pets. I suppose you just let it out for exercise and it never killed no one, said the large boy, backing against the closed door. From behind him, Harry could hear a funny rustling and crickling. Come on, Rebels, said Riddle, moving you closer. The dead girl's parents will be here tomorrow. The least Hogwarts can do is make sure the thing that killed their daughter is Fletcher. It wasn't him, roared the boy, his voice choking in the dark passage. He wouldn't. He never. Stand aside, said Riddle, drawing out his wand. He spat in the corridor with a sudden flaming light. The door behind the large boy flew open with such force and knocked him into the wall opposite and out of its skin. Something had made Harry let out a long, piercing scream with no one but he seemed to hear. A vast, loud song, hairy body and a tangled black legs, a gleam of many ears and a pair of rather sharp speakers. Riddle raised his wand again, but it was too late. The thing bowed him over and scotched away, tearing up the corridor and out of sight. Riddle scrunched to his feet. Looking after it, he raised his wand, but the hawk ball leapt on him, seized his wand and threw him back down, yelling, No! The sense whirling, the darkness becoming complete. Harry found himself folding in with a crash. No longer spectred eagle on his four-poster in the Gryffindor dormitory. Riddle's diary lying open on his stomach. Before he had the time to regain his breath, the dormitory door opened and Ron came in. There you are, he said. Harry sat up. He was bleeding and shaking. What is up? Said Ron, looking at him with concern. It was Hagrid, Ron. Hagrid opened the Chamber of Secrets feeding just ago.